Hi guys, my name is Abdurrahman Gilal, and in this video I'll tell you something about cookies in web application or especially in PHP. So in my previous presentation I told you about the sessions that how sessions basically are working for web application. So we knew that the data that is stored in the sessions is coming to be a super global variable. So which means if we store data at one place can be accessed throughout the whole website, right? I just want to quickly tell you, for example, this is my web application, or I am using it through internet. So, and this is my server. So this is my server. Let's assume this is the Facebook that I am making on, right? So you know that Facebook have billion users. So each time users approaching, server, so server, if you are storing data into server, so server uses session variables, right? So if you have 3 billion users, so you should have 3 billion sessions. So you just imagine how costly it could be. Sometimes some data which is important but not necessary for server to keep. For example, when last time you logged in, or what are your preferences for certain purchases, or what are your, some histories of looking here and there. So it is required sometimes to do the business logic, but not necessary to keep in sessions. Why? Because excuse me, session dies when the browser is, closed, or when you do the logout. So all the data that goes off. So how session is gonna take care of that data? Either you store into the database or you store at the client level. So sometimes, most of the time these days, the preferences that are basically chosen by the users are stored in client machine. So we use concept called cookie. So cookie is a file that is stored on client side, set by definitely the server. So it has two major type. One cookie is called persistent cookie, which means it is stored data for a longer time. It depends like how long we want it to be alive. And the second type is called session-based cookie, which means they keep the data instead of keeping it server, it keeps the data at the client machine. So whenever you close a browser, that cookie dies. So this is something we say like a session-based cookie. Persistent cookie, which is a long life cookie, which will be, I'll tell you that how to make it. And then this is like useful for us to keep the data for longer time. And then the sessions are, dying once we off the, browser or log out the session. So let me quickly tell you the major differences as I prepared the slide for you guys. So cookies are stored on client machines and session are stored on server. Cookies have smaller storage, max 4 KBs, but sessions can be larger, so it depends like how large your data you have. So cookies are persistent and sessions are not persistent. Cookies are persistent if you're making a persistent cookie. If you're making session cookies, so it's gonna not be, really persistent. But when you have a server data on server, which is more secure, definitely. When your data is at client machine, that means, people can manipulate. So the cookies are security vulnerable. This is what I'm gonna say. So when you should use, okay, so if you have a data that you want to keep for a long time, better you use cookies. But make sure that data is not really, really, how to say, security sensitive, I would say. But if you have a data that is security sensitive and a large amount of data, you should definitely go with the sessions. So I would let's make it. Let's make a one type of cookie. Let's see. First of all, we should have the PHP, right? We are making through PHP. So let's say how you make the cookie. So you use a method call or function called set cookies. So first two parameters, what is the name of the cookie that you wanted to make? I wanted to make the lol cookie. What should be the value of the data? As in, I am just learning cookies in PHP. This is what I would say simply. So I have two more parameters like for making a persistent or impersistent. I'm just gonna I'm just gonna make like that for the time being. And I'm gonna try to see like is state like what do my cookie exist or not. So let's say So what you really do is that you use the global variable, like as we use dollar underscore post, dollar underscore station, dollar underscore global, so or server. So same way you write dollar underscore cookie, all capital, and you write the name of the cookie. And then here, if you wanted to print out what's the data available in here, so basically you use a similar thing as because this is considered as a super global variable, all the pages can be used. If not, then you should simply say sorry, you do not have that cookie. So this is first thing, right? Let me save it. So this is save. I'm gonna go to the cookie, yeah, this one. So what's the problem? Let me see here. I don't think there's any problem. So, okay, this is semicolon problem. So sorry about that. Okay, so you do not have that cookie, but actually I set it up. So the first time it comes up like that because it's making and then checking. So when it makes and checks, definitely the first time it's gonna go. So how you gonna see where is your cookie and what is the data that's there? So you go here on the option bar and then you go to more tools if you're using Google Chrome and you're using MacBook. And go to the developer tab. As soon as you go to the developer tab, so you see I have few cookies. Let me delete one. So you see here the expiry is session, which means it's a right now expiry. So let me just quickly grab this and then close this. And I'm gonna now go back here. Same thing here. So you see, as soon as I come here in cookie, I do not have any cookie. But let me paste the same thing here. So you see the cookie get existed, and that's a session cookie. So you see the difference? Now, as soon as you close the browser, cookie dies, right? So now this is one thing we learned about the cookie. There's a session cookie. How about if I wanted to make a persistent cookie? So the first thing is that you have to give a time that is not now. So what you do, you add up the seconds. Let's say you wanted to edit it for 1 minute, or you wanted to make it for 60 seconds, or you wanted to make it for 1 day. So let me make it for 1 day, right? So this means whatever time is right now, it always returns a second plus 60 second to 60 minutes into 24 hours. So that's how like it's gonna make thing cookie alive for 1 day. So you save it and then you refresh it again. So now you see I don't have session, but I have a time. That means that second, which means February, and then 11th, which means tomorrow. You see, and then the data is here, which means clearly saying me that what type of data I have in the cookie. So this is one thing. And then if you wanted to delete the cookie, so how you delete the cookie, there's no right direct way to delete. So usually what we do, we come here and instead of adding it up, we delete it by minusing it up, which means then instead of adding up a time, I'm gonna say, minus the time. So when you go here, so you see cookies deleted. So next time you come, it basically get existence, but it goes off again and again, as you said, because it goes in if statement and then if statement deletes it, but until it deletes it, the data is being shown. Now you see it is no more here, but it's there. So, and this is one thing that in order to delete the cookie, you don't have any other way, but this is like you just remove go backward to the time that's there. Even if you go 1 second backward, it's also sufficient. It's not necessary to go backward to the time, let's say. But let's say I don't want to, sorry. So I don't want to do delete it immediately, but I wanted to keep it for time. Now you wanted to keep the cookie for a long time, but for what type of pages on your website? Sometimes when you do not mention, so wherever exactly that file exists, for example, this index.php, this index.php exists in this cookie folder. So my cookie will just simply look for this type of file. It will only support that. So this is really no good. So if you wanted to keep it for the whole website or web application, you use this one, which is a forward slash, which means telling you that everywhere in your web application is going to be useful. If you have any subfolder, you can do like that way also. It's up to you, but I'm not going to do that way. So this is also another option by which you can keep your cookie available for your whole web application. I hope it makes some sense. If you have any other question that you wanted to ask me, please do not hesitate to approach me. Thank you so much, guys.